Hey guys, I'm going to show you some very interesting phenomenon going on here. I was reading a bit about transient effects from some of Maxwell's writing, and he talked about how whenever you have an electromagnetic coil and you can eliminate what he called B and E, which was the magnetic charge, that an electric charge would still remain. So I haven't read a whole lot about it, but one of the ways of doing it is essentially by the bifilar wrapping of a secondary coil, and I have a feeling I may have accomplished that by wiring these in series this particular way, because it doesn't work any other way. When I reverse the inner and outer outputs there, that don't get the same effect. This one here is going to an earth rod, going down there on the floor, running over there to the rod. The other one here, coming off, is just going to, I made this plate capacitor. Let me show you. I'll turn it off here. These are two plastic containers with just a piece of aluminum siding inside of them, aluminum flashing, and two terminals sticking out. And all this other stuff, none of this matters. This effect still happens merely by just hooking that positive, or at least this output wire here, to at least this terminal. The more capacitance, the more enhanced effect it does seem to exhibit. So I've added this one and these two over here. All three of these condensers are in parallel, and then I'm also experimenting with just some different methods of dielectric antenna. These don't act like a coil, they act more like a surface area based transducer, which is the same thing that's happening with that. The outer foil on there is essentially establishing a waveguide for this effect. Hooking this one up as well. This is actually a very tiny waveguide. It's most effective within this width. Hardly any radiation comes off of it. You can't light a fluorescent bulb by it when it's hooked up. Can't light, this coil does not light up a bulb. You hear small, tiny electrostatic plasma sounds coming from it, and obviously it'll arc because it's the high side of that. So if it does arc, it will light the bulb, but that's because of the spark. So really, this is just a capacitor bank, excluding this, that we're putting a positive, or at least a 60 hertz alternating charge to. And that's the thing. This isn't just a high positive sitting there doing nothing. It is actually resonating in this core at 60 hertz frequency because of my input. I'm not using my resistor anymore, so I've got straight 120 going to both of these primaries in parallel. The outputs then are in this series configuration. So is it possible that we've reduced the magnetic drag by wiring these, in a sense, in a bifilar fashion, even though they're separately driven primaries? The cores themselves, this has been running for over an hour. I've been sitting here watching it just playing around, and these are only slightly above room temperature. They're not getting hot at all. I know it's using some kind of energy. I think it's probably about an amp or so worth of energy to drive them. But the interesting thing is these guys over here. Now, we know that ideally we want underneath 20 kilohertz or 20 kilohertz and below for the most efficient longitudinal transfer. But because we have 60 on hand, and because effects are realizable at 60 hertz, we shall examine what's happening. So we got 60 times a second. This is getting positive, negative. So the dielectric realm of these condensers is being pulsed at 60 times a second at approximately somewhere around 6,000 or 7,000 volts AC. These guys over here that are sitting at intervals of, well, at least 3 feet, 3 to 4 feet, 4.5 feet away from any one of these dielectric antennas over here, whether it's the plate capacitor, or that thing down there, and I'll show you how that one has its own reactance in a minute here. But these guys here are picking up an electric charge, and there's no way that I can show it to you other than in the dark when it's really close over here. I can't actually get plasma electrical arcing jumping to my fingertips or from my fingertips per se. But from here, what I can feel is this really strong vibration as I move my fingers. When I have it completely grounded, there's no vibration. There's no vibration in the table. The effect is not transferring through the table at all. But these insulated domes, this one's slightly weaker because it's farther away. But I'm gonna see if you can actually hear over top of the heater back there. You can see I'm rubbing my finger on it. I'm trying to hold the phone speaker by it so you can hear it. And this one up here. So they're humming at 60 hertz frequency. Now, it's essentially I'm creating a dielectric space between my fingertips and the dome, which perhaps is causing the discharge, creating this vibrational wave coming out of there. But the fact that they're transferring that energy all the way across the table here is really interesting. Now I'm going to take this dome here, I'm going to put it over here on a chair, show you that it's nothing related to anything really over there. So here I am. I'm about 3 feet away from the big capacitor there,